Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Infernus, and welcome back to another comic book review. I know it's been a while, but do not worry. There is plenty more content coming very soon, at least as much as I can get done before Werewolf by Night comes out, because that will probably end up taking precedent, not president. But I do have a lot of things that I will try to get out as soon as I can. But let's start with a project that I actually crapped on quite a bit in some of my previous videos, both in my Marvel Disney Plus ranking and in my three-part Infinity War length ranking. That's why I'm calling it, because that was almost 3 hours, but not quite. And I'm sure some of you probably already know that we're talking about Moon Knight because, well, it's in the title and it's a project that I previously crapped on. But thing with this show is that my reasoning for why I wasn't a huge fan of it, why I almost didn't like it, was because of one twist in the second half of the show. But I ended up thinking that maybe that was a bit too harsh of a criticism, so I decided to rewatch it because chances are I probably missed something. So, is this show better than I initially gave it credit for? Well, let's talk about it. What was it that I liked about it even when I did have that major issue with it? Well, for one, the Egyptian theming is really nice. It is a nice touch. I love it when they adapt stories that have like different cultures in it because it always gives the shows or movies their own identity, whether you're doing like a different religion, a different mythology, a like a community that has its own style, a time period even. The MCU is great at doing that, and Moon Knight is a very recent example of how they are amazing at adapting those kinds of things. It's like whether we're talking about the presence of Egyptian gods or the languages they speak, the chants, the music in the background, the settings, whether we're talking about Cairo with the pyramids or the Egyptian underworld where you know its appearance depends on whose point of view it is. Like for Mark and Steven, it's a psych ward, but then you have the outside of the Duowat, I think it was called. Wait, no, the Duowat was the Sand River, yeah, or was it the boat? I forget. Anyways, love that little touch of theming. I also remember really liking, well, I wouldn't say really liking because I didn't like the show that much, but I do remember liking Steven and Grant's character arcs a good bit. And rewatching it, I do like it a lot more now, mainly because I appreciate the show a lot more now than I did back then. But I really like the friendship they end up developing by the end of the series, where Steven is one of the nicest guys you would probably meet, someone who wouldn't even want to hurt a fly unless they're trying to hurt him. And then you have Mark, who is this hardened mercenary with a bad past. And like I said, the journey of them eventually learning to work together and having, Mark move on from his traumatic past, it's great. I really love those bits of the show. And episode 5 is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire Marvel Disney Plus, well, of the Disney Plus shows in general. There are some contenders for the top spot, but that's certainly one of them. Now, what were my initial issues? I had 3 issues that I discussed in the original ranking, and I can definitely say that 2 of them have been fixed by this rewatch. And thankfully, one of them was the big one, the big twist that turned me off from the show. And I will admit that I had to go on Reddit for this one. I had to go on Reddit to fix a problem I had with the show, the whole Dr. Harrow thing with the little segments where they were in that doctor's office with Stephen Hawke. I didn't really get them back then. I certainly understand them now, where they're like Mark and Steve. Well, I mean Stephen, yeah, but also more so Mark, where it's like Mark's little escape from his past, where he really doesn't want to go back and revisit that, which I don't blame him. That looks awful. But as little segments that are like him and Steven's mental break, I get it, and I think it works works really well, and it gives Ethan Hawke more things to do in the underworld, so that's good. And also, the other issue that was fixed was I originally complained that there's an entire third of the show with no Moon Knight. Yeah, I don't know why I had that issue because those are actually two pretty good episodes. Uh, Episode 4 gives us some nice screen time with Steven after spending almost the entire episode with Mark. And then episode 5 is just packed with emotions, going back through all those memories, understanding how Mark got the Moon Knight suit, what his childhood was like, and why it was like that, and even why Mark and Steven's lives started to diverge into each other. I really love what they did with that episode in particular, but I do also appreciate that there are some episodes in the show where they move a little bit away from the action to kind of develop some stuff more. I mean, there's some action, but it's not focused on that entirely. Now, unfortunately, there is one issue that I had with the show that wasn't really fixed by this rewatch, and that's mainly Layla. Layla as a character is fine. I do like the dynamic that she has with the boys, but there are a good amount of moments in her character arc that felt pretty forced. Specifically in episode 3, where Harrow just brings up her past out of nowhere, and then he does it again in episode 4, and it's like Steven, he finds Amit's little statue thingy, and instead of focusing on that, she immediately goes like, "Did you kill my father?" So stuff like that, it was a little weird, a little bit frustrating, because honestly, this would probably be one of the best projects in the entire MCU if it weren't for that. If that was handled just a little bit better, this could have been fantastic. And yeah, giving it away before I show the rating, this is great. This is easily, at least in my opinion, one of the best projects in Phase 4. And like, even if Wakanda Forever ends up being better than it, it's probably not being pushed out of the top 5 of the Phase anytime soon. I couldn't be happier that I decided to rewatch this show because it is an absolute gem. Do not hesitate in watching it. I would strongly recommend it. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little review of Moon Knight following my rewatch. Second take because had some technical issues in the first take, but got everything sorted out, and now we have a take with no real issues. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I ain't gonna bore you all with that generic stuff. See you guys in the next review. Take care, and Godspeed.